At Mutual Ventures, we talk a lot about radical place leadership, and some people have been asking me to explain what exactly that means. So this is my attempt to do that. It's a story about silos and bubbles. When Professor Donoghue joined our team as a non-exec director last year, I asked her what problem she really wanted to get stuck into, and she immediately said it's the fact that people are still having to repeatedly tell their story to different public services. And this is causing huge waste in the system as people are continually being assessed and passed from pillar to post. And it's also creating increasingly poor outcomes for very vulnerable people. And this is caused by a number of things. The first is that public services still operate largely in silos. And a lot of the blame for this can be the fact that central government funding operates in silos and services are forced to work that way. But it's also the practice of new public management and the fact that the way we deliver public services means that you look at a big societal problem and you slice and dice it down into commissionable chunks. And those are either given to bits of the public sector or commissioned out to independent providers. And there are a number of problems with that. One is that it doesn't allow individual services to respond to the really complex needs that people have these days. And the second problem is that when times get hard, when the financial pressure is on, the really only lever that these services have is to increase thresholds and to send people away to get worse, to get fatter, to get thinner, to get more ill. This is a massive problem, but there are examples around the country of people and services that are pushing back against this. So if you look at the work that Donna did with the Wigan deal, that involved ignoring public service silos and creating integrated neighbourhood teams that really focused around a person and what they need. And those teams included police, DWP, council staff, NHS, housing, a whole range of services. There's also the work of the Changing Futures Northumbria team. You might have heard of the Liberated Method, the amazing work that Mark Smith and his team have done there. That, again, is about breaking down service silos and focusing on what a person really needs rather than what a siloed service wants to provide for them. Now, the problem with this type of delivery, and we spoke to quite a few people around the country, is that this great practice often exists in a bubble. And the integrity of that bubble is held together either by a really inspirational person on the ground who knows that the system is not operating the way it should and they're pushing back against it and they're using their influence and personality to do something a bit different. Or it's externally funded, often by central government in the way that the Changing Futures programs are. Now, there's problems with that because if that person, that really inspirational person leaves, then that bubble can burst. If the central government funding or other time-limited funding ends, the bubble can burst. So this is a real problem. So what do we do about it? So this is where the whole concept of radical place leadership has come from. So what we do is we get the leaders of a place from the council, police, NHS, third sector, housing. We get them together and we talk about the shared challenges that they have. And this leads to the development of missions, priorities, goals. They're called different things in different places. And what these do is act as a catalyst for collaboration. And if you take, for example, a London borough, it's really easy to see how something like homelessness could act in that way. It's a shared issue and a shared challenge for all of the public services that are engaging with those very vulnerable people who are homeless or in unstable accommodation. And having that starting point enables those leaders to come together and start the journey of creating that enabling environment so that they are bought in right from the start. And these great examples of good method, good practice are not existing in a bubble fighting against the system, but actually part of the system and supported by the system. And it's also important to note that this is not necessarily about reinventing the wheel. This is about making better use of what you already have, sometimes knitting together things that you're already doing. There's already, for instance, in the health sector, the development of integrated neighbourhood teams. Could that be the building block for this? So really important to consider all of these things. And if you're interested in hearing more, then please do get in touch.